Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 3 The Night Bus. Harry was several streets away before he collapsed onto the low wall in Magnolia Crescent. Paging the effort of dragging his trunk, he sat quite still, anger still surging through him, listening to the frantic thumping of his heart. But after 10 minutes alone in the dark street, a new emotion overtook him panic, whichever he looked at it. He had never been in a worse fix. He was stranded, quite alone, in the dark, muggle world with absolutely nowhere to go. And the worst of it was he had just done serious magic, which meant he was almost certainly expelled from Hogwarts. He had broken the degree for restriction of underage wizardry so badly. He surprised the ministry representative once swooping down on him where he sat. Harry shivered and looked up and down Magdalene Crescent. What was going to happen to him? Would he be arrested, or would he simply outlaw from the wizarding world? He thought of Ron and Hermione, and his heart sank even lower. Harry was sure that criminal or not, Ron and Hermione would want to help him now. But they were both abroad, and with Hedwig gone, he had no means of contacting them. He didn't have any muggle money either. There was little wizard gold in the money bag at the bottom of his trunk, but the rest of the fortune his parent left him was stored in a vault at Gadget Wizarding Bank in London. He'll never able to drag his trunk all the way to London unless he looked down at his wand, which he was still clutching in his hand. If he was already expelled, his heart was now thumping painfully fast. A bit more magic couldn't hurt. He had the invisibility cloak, an intrigue from his father. What if he would bewitch the trunk to make it feather light? Tied it to his broomstick, covered himself in cloak, and flew to London. And he could get the rest of his money at a vault and begin his life on the outs as an outcast. It was a horrible prospect, but he couldn't sit on the wall forever, or he would find him trying to explain to Muggle police why he was in the dead of the night with a trunk of spellbook and a broomstick. Harry opened his trunk again and pushed the content aside, looking for the invisibility cloak, but before he found it, he straightened up suddenly, looking around him once more. A funny prickling on the back of his neck had made Harry feel he was being watched. The street approached be deserted, and no light shone from any large squares house. He bent over his trunk again, but almost immediately sat up once more, his hand clenched on the wand. He had sensed rather than heard it. Someone or something was standing in the narrow gap between the garage and the fence behind him. Harry squinted in the black alleyway. If only he would move, then he would know whether it was just a stray cat or something else. Loomis, Harry muttered, and a light appeared at the end of his wand, almost dazzling him. He held it high over his head, and the people dashed while number 2 suddenly sparkled, the garage door gleaming between them. Harry saw quite distinctly, huckling outline of some very big with wide gleaming eyes. When he stepped backward, his leg hit his trunk, and he tripped. His wand flew out of his hand as he flung out an arm to break his fall. He landed hard in the gutter. There was a deafening bang, and Harry threw his hand in his shielded eyes against blinding light. With a yell, he rolled back on the pavement just in time. A second later, a gigantic pair of wheel and headlight had screeched halt exactly where he had been lying. They belonged, as Harry saw when he raised his head, a triple-decker, violently purple bus, which appeared out of thin air, gold lettering over the windscreen spelled "The Night Bus." For a split second, Harry wondered if he had been knocked silly by his fall. Then a conductor of a purple uniform leapt out of his bus and began to speak loudly in the night. "Welcome to the night bus. Emergency transport for stranded wizard. Stranded witch or wizard. Just stick out your one hand, step on the board, and we can take you anywhere you want to go. My name is Stan Schuldenberg, and I will be your conductor this eve." The conductor stopped abruptly. He just caught sight of Harry, who was still sitting on the ground. Harry snatched up his wand again and scrambled to his feet. close to, he saw that Stan Shunpike was only a few years older than he was, 18 or 19 at most, with large producing ears and a fair few pimples. "What were you doing down there?" said Stan, dropping his professional manner. "Fell over." "True, fall over for?" sniggered Stan. "I didn't do it on purpose," said Harry, annoyed. One of the knees in his jeans were torn, and the hand he had thrown out to break his fall was bleeding. He suddenly remembered why he had fallen over and turned around quickly to stare the alleyway between the garage and the fence. Come on. Oh, yeah. "Big black thing," said Harry, pointing uncertainly. "And they got like a dog, but massive." He looked around the stand, whose mouth was slightly open. With a feeling of unease, Harry saw Stan's eyes move to the scar to Harry's forehead. "Who's on that? Who's on that on your head?" said Stan abruptly. "Nothing," said Harry quickly, flattening his hair for a scar. If the Minister of Magic was looking for him, he didn't want to make it too easy for them. "Who's your name?" says Stan proceeded. "Neville Longbottom," said Harry, saying the first name that came into his head. So this bus," he went on quickly, hoping to distract Stan. "Did you say it goes anywhere?" "Yep," said Stan proudly. "Anywhere you like, long it's on land. Can't do nothing on water." "Here," he said, looking suspicious again. "You did flag us down. You did flag us down, did ya? Stuck out your wand and, didn't ya?" "Yes," said her quickly. "Listen, how much I would like to get to London?" 11 sickles," said Stan. For 13, but for 13, you get hot chocolate, and 15, you get an hot water bottle and toothbrush in the color of your choice. Heard how much I wanted his trunk, extracted his money back and shoved some silver in Stan's hand. He and Stan then lifted his trunk with the head with cage bounds on top, up the stuff of the trunk of the bus. There was no seat. Instead of half-dozen brass bedstand stood before in the current window. Candles were burning in the bracket inside each bed, illuminating with a wood panel wall a tiny wizard in a nightcap at the rear of his bus murder. "Not now, thanks. I'm picking some slug," and rolled over in his sleep. You have this one," Stan whispered, shoving Harry's trunk under the bed right behind the driver, who was sitting in an armchair from the steering wheel. "This is our driver, Ernie Preen. This is Neville Longbottom, Ernie Preen, an elderly wizard wearing very thick glass," nodded at Harry, who nervously flattened his fridge again and sat down on his bed. "Take her away, Ern," said Stan, sitting down in the armchair next to Ernie. There was another tremendous bang. The next moment, Harry found himself flat on his bed, thrown backward by the speed of the night bus. Pulling himself up, Harry stared out of the dark window and saw that they were now bowling along a completely different street. Stan was watching Harry's stunned face with great enjoyment. "This is where we was before you flagged us down," he said. "Where are we, Ern? Somewhere in Wales." Said Ernie. "How come the muggle don't hear the bus?" said Harry. "Them?" said Stan consciously. "Don't listen properly, do they? Don't look properly either. Never notice nothing. They don't. Best go wake up Madam Marsh, Stan," said Ern. "I'll be in average in a minute." Stan passed Harry's bed and disappeared up a narrow wooden staircase. Harry Wall was still looking out the window, feeling increasing Ernie didn't seem to have mastered the use the use of a steering wheel. The night bus kept mounting the pavement, but it didn't hit anything. Lines of lampposts, letterbox, and bin jam out of its way as it approached and back in position. Once it had passed, Stan came back downstairs, followed faintly Greenwich wrapped in traveling cloak. "Here you go, Madam Marsh," said Stan happily as Ernest stamped on the brake and Bet slid a foot or so toward the front of the Madam Marsh, clambered handkerchief to her mouth, and toward this and toward her down the step. Stan threw her back out after her and rammed the door shut. There was another loud bang, and they were thundering under a narrow country lane, the trees slipping out of the way. Harry wouldn't have been able to sleep even if he had traveling on a bus that didn't keep banging loudly and jumping 100 miles at a time. His stomach churned as he fell back, wondering what was going to happen to him and whether the Dursley had managed to get in much of the ceiling yet. Stan had unfurled a copy of the Daily Prophet and was now reading with his tongue between his teeth. A large photograph of a sunken-faced man with long, mad hair blinked slowly at Harry from the front page. He looked strangely familiar. "That man," Harry said, forgetting his trouble for a moment. "He was on the Muggle News." Stanley turned the front page and chuckled. "Sirius Black," he said, nodding. "Of course, he was on the Muggle News, Neville. Where you been?" He gave a superior sort of chuckle at Harry, at the blank look on Harry's face, removed the front page and handed it to Harry. "You ought to read the newspaper more, Neville." Harry held the paper back of the candlelight and read, "Black still at large. Sirius Black, possibly the most infamous prisoner ever to be held in Azkaban Fortress, and still including capture the Ministry of Magic confirmed today. We're doing all we can to recapture Black," said Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge this morning, "and we bring the magical community to remain calm." Fudge had been characterized by some members of the International Federation of Warlock by informing the Muggle Prime Minister of the crisis. "But really, I had to, don't you know?" said an irritable Fudge. "Black is mad. He's a danger to anyone who crosses him. Magic or Muggles? I have the Prime Minister's assurance that I will not breathe a word of Black's true identity to anyone. And let's face it, who'd believe if he did?" Back and shove some silver into Stan's hand. He can stand and lift his wait a minute, that's 30. Okay, it's repeating, okay. Well, Muggle have been told that Black is carrying a gun, a kind of mental wand, which Muggle used to kill each other. The magical community live in fear of a master like that. 12 years ago, when Black murdered 13 people with a single curse. Harry looked in the shadow eyes of Sirius Black, the only part on a sunken face that seemed alive. Harry had never met a vampire, but he had seen pictures of them in Defense Against Dark Art classes, and Black, with the waxy white skin, looked just like one. Scary looking thing, said Stan, who had been watching Harry read. "He murdered 13 people," said Harry, handing the page back to Stan, "with one curse." Yep, said Stan, "in front of witness and all, broad daylight. Big trouble it caused, didn't it, Ern?" Said Ern darkly. Stan swiveled in his armchair, his hand on the back, the better to look at Harry. Black was a big supporter of you-know-who, he said. "What, Voldemort?" said Harry without thinking. Even Stan Pimple went white. Ern jerked the steering wheel so hard that the whole farmhouse had jumped aside to avoid the bus. You oughta your tree," yelped Stan. "Choose, say name for—" "Sorry," said Harry hastily. "Sorry, I forgot." "Forgot?" said Stan weakly. "But my Earth going that fast. Black was supportive of Black was a supportive who, read from apologetically. Yeah, said Stan, still rubbing his chest. Yeah, that's right. You're very close to who, they say anyway. When little Harry Potter said to put who, very nervously flung his fridge down again. All who supported was tracked down, wasn't they? Most of them knew it wasn't all over with who gone, and they came quiet, but not Sirius Black. I cared. He thought he would be second in command once who had taken over. Anyway, they concerned Black in the middle of a street full of muggles, and Black took out his wand and he blasted all of the street apart, and a wizard got it. And so did a dozen muggles when it got in the way. Horrible. Horrible, And you know what Black did them? Then Stan continued in a dramatic whisper. What? Said Harry. Laugh, said Stan. Just stood there and laughed. And when reinforcements from the Ministry of Magic got there, he waved them quiet as anything, still laughing his head off. 'Cause he mad. Isn't he, Ern? He's mad. If he weren't when he went to Azkaban, he will be now, said Ern in a low voice. I'll blow myself before I set foot in that place. Serve him right, mind. After what he did, what he got you covering it up, did they, Ern? Said Stan. Whole street blown up, of the muggle dead. What was it they said had happened, Ern? That explosion, grunted Ernie. And now he's out, said somebody in newspaper picture Black on face again. Never been a breakout from Azkaban before. I stared at beat me now, he did it. Beat me how he did it. Frightening, mind. I don't fancy the chin against the Azkaban guard, Ernie suddenly shivered. Talk about something else. Stan. There's a good lady. Then Azkaban guard gave me the collywobble. Stan put the paper away reluctantly from Harry. Harry fainted against the window of the night bus, saying worse than ever. He couldn't have helped imagining what Stan might be feeling as passenger a few nights at a time. Hear about Harry Potter? Blew up his aunt. And we had him here on the night bus. We had him here on the night bus, didn't we, Ern? He was trying to run for it. Harry had broken wizard law, just like Sirius Black. Did he was inflating orange marks bad enough to land him in Azkaban. Harry didn't know anything about the wizard prison, though everyone he'd ever heard speak of it did so in the same fearful tone. Hagrid, the Hogwarts gamekeeper, did spend 2 months there. Only last year. Harry, once seen, soon forgot the look of terror on Hagrid's face when had been told where he was going. Hagrid was one of the bravest people Harry knew. The night bus rolled through darkness, clattering bush and bull road, telephone boxes and trees. He lay resolute and miserable on his feather bed. After a while, Stan remembered that Harry had paid for hot chocolate, but poured it all over Harry's pillow when the bus moved abruptly from Angley to Albany. One by one, Wizard and Witch in the dressing gown and slipper tasking the upper floor to leave the bus. They all looked very pleased to go. Finally, Harry was the only passenger left. Right then, Neville, said Stan, clapping his hand. Where about in London? Diagon Alley. Righto, said Stan. Oh, Laura, hold tight then. Bang! They were thundering along a charring crossroad. Harry sat up and watched building and bench squeezing themselves out of the night bus way. The sky was getting a little lighter. He would lie low for a couple of hours, go to greater in the moment if they opened, then set off where he didn't know. Ern slammed on the brake and night bus guided to her halt in front of the small and shabby-looking pub, the Leaky Cauldron, beyond which lay the magical entrance to a Dagon alley. "Thanks," Harry said to Ern. He jumped out the step and helped Stan lower his trunk and head with cage on the pavement. "Well," said Harry, "why then?" But Stan wasn't paying attention, still sitting in the doorway on the bus. He was goggling the shadowy entrance to the Leaky Cauldron. "There you are, Harry." "There you are, Harry," said a voice. Before Harry could turn, he felt a hand on his shoulder. At the same time, Stan shouted, "LeMay! Ern, come here! Come here!" Harry looked up the owner of the hand on his shoulder and felt a bucket of ice across his stomach. He had walked right into Cornus Fudge, the minister for magic himself. Stan leapt on the pavement beside him. "What did you call Neville a minister?" he said excitedly. Fudge, poor little man in longs, finished his cloak, looked cold and exhausted. "Neville," he repeated, frowning. "This is Harry Potter." "I knew it!" Ron shouted gleefully. "Ern, guess who Neville is? Ern, he's Harry Potter. I can see a scar." "Yes," said Fudge testily. "Well, I'm glad the night bus picked up Harry, but he and I need to step inside the Leaky Cauldron now." Fudge increased the crescent on Harry's shoulder. And Harry found himself sitting inside the pub. A stooping figure bearing a lantern appeared through the door. Behind the bar, it was Tom, the wizened and toothless landlord. You've got him, Minister?" said Tom. "Will you be wanting anything? Beer, brandy, perhaps a pot of tea?" said Fudge, who still hadn't let go of Harry. There was a lad scrapping and puffing from behind them, and Stan and Ern appeared, carrying Harry trunk and head with cage and looking around excitedly. "How come you didn't tell us who you are, Neville?" said Stan, beaming at Harry, while Ernie's owlish face peered interestedly over Stan's shoulder. "And a private parlor, please, Tom," said Fudge pointedly. "Bye," Harry said miserably to Stan and Ern as Tom beckoned Fudge toward the passage that led from the bar. "Bye, Neville," called Stan. Fudge marched Harry along the narrow passage after Tom's lantern, and then to a small parlor. Tom clicked his finger. A fire burst into life in the grate, and he bowed himself out of the room. "Sit down, Harry," said Fudge, indicating a chair by the fire. Harry sat down. Harry already knew this, of course. He had been seen Fudge once before, but as he'd been wearing his father's invisibility cloak at the time, Fudge wouldn't know that. Tom, innkeeper, appeared, wearing an apron over his nightshirt and bearing a tray of tea and crumpet. He placed the tray on the table between Fudge and Harry, and left the parlor, closing the door behind him. "Well, Harry," said Fudge, pouring out tea, "you've had all us in a right flap. I don't mind telling you, running away from your aunt and uncle house like that. I'll start to think, but you're safe. But that's what matters." Fudge buttered himself a crumpet and pushed the plate toward Harry. Fudge, "Eat, Harry. You look dead on your feet. Now then, you will be pleasing to hear that we have dealt with the unfortunate blowing of Miss Marjorie Dursley. Two-member of Accidental Magic Recovery Squad were to puncture in her memory has been modified. She has no recollection of incident at all. So that's what, and no harm done." Fudge smiled at Harry, overridden with his teacup, rather like an uncle surveying a favorite nephew. Harry, who couldn't believe his ear, opened his mouth to speak, couldn't think of anything to say, and closed it again. "Ah, you're worrying about the reaction of your aunt and uncle," said Fudge. "Well, I won't deny they're extremely angry, Harry, but they're prepared to take you back next summer as long as you stay at Hogwarts for the Christmas and Easter holiday." Ron stuck his throat. "I always stay at Hogwarts for Christmas and Easter holiday," he said, "and I don't ever want to go back to private drive." Now, I'm sure you'll feel differently once you've calmed down," said Fudge in a worried tone. They are your family, after all, and I'm sure you're fond of each other, very deep down. It didn't seem okay to Harry to put Fudge right. He was still waiting to hear what was going to happen to him now. So all that remains, said Fudge, now butchering him a second crumpet, is to decide where you're going to spend the last 3 weeks of your journey, of your holiday. I suggest you take a room here at the Cauldron and hang on, Harry blurted out. What about my punishment? Fudge blinked. Punishment? I broke the law, Harry said. The degree of the restriction of underage was already. Oh, my dear boy, we're not going to punish you for a little thing like that, cried Fudge, waving his crumpet. We don't send people to Azkaban just for blowing up their aunt, but this didn't tally at all. Harry just passed dealing with ministry magic. Last year, I got an official warning just because I helped smash a pudding in my uncle's house, said Harry, frowning. The Ministry of Magic said I'll expel from Hogwarts if there was any more magic there, unless Harry's eyes were deceiving him. Fudge was suddenly looking awkward. Circumstances change, Harry. We have to take into account the present climate. Surely you don't want to be expelled. Of course I don't, said Harry. Well then, that's all the fuss about, laughed Fudge airily. Now, have a crumpet, Harry, while we go see if Tom got a room for you. Fudge strode out of the parlor, and Harry stared after him. There was something extremely odd going on. Why had Fudge been waiting for him in the leaky cauldron, if not to punish him for what he had done? And now, Harry came to think of it, surely it wasn't usual for Ministry of Magic himself to get involved in the matter of underage magic. Fudge came back, accompanied by Tom the innkeeper. Room 11 free, Harry, said Fudge. I think it'll be very comfortable. Just one thing, and I'm sure you'll understand. I don't want you wandering off to Mug London, all right? Keep to Daggy and Ellie. You'll be back here before dark each night. Sure, you'll understand. Tom will be keeping eyes on you for me. Okay, said Harry slowly, but why? Don't want to lose you again, do we? Said Fudge with a hearty laugh. No, best we know where you are, I mean. Fudge cleared his throat loudly and picked up his pin strip cloak. Well, I'll be off. Plenty to do, you know. Have you had any luck with black yet? Harry asked. Fudge's finger slipped on the slip fastening on his glove. What's that? Oh, you've heard. Well, no, not yet, but it's only a matter of time. The Azkaban guard had never yet failed, and they're angrier than I've ever seen them. Fudge shuddered slightly. So I'll say goodbye. Held his hand and Harry's shawl shaken. Inside and I had a sudden idea. Minister, can I ask you something? Certainly, smiled Fudge. Well, 30 at Hogwarts are allowed to visit Hogsmeade, but my aunt and uncle didn't sign the permission for him. Do you think you could? Fudge was looking uncomfortable. Ah, he said, no, I'm very sorry, but as I'm not your parent or guardian, but you're the Minister of Magic, Harry said eagerly. If you gave me the permission. No, I'm sorry, Harry, but rules are rules, said Fudge flatly. Perhaps you'll be able to visit Hogsmeade next week. In fact, I think it's best if you don't. Yes, well, I'll be off. Enjoy your stay, Harry. With a last smile and shake, Harry Fudge left the room. Tom now moved forward, beaming at Harry. If you'll follow me, Mr. Porter, he said, I've already taken you. Follow up. Harry followed Tom up the handsome wooden staircase to a door with a brass number 11 on it, which Tom unlocked and opened for him. Inside was a very comfortable looking bed, some highly polished oak furniture, a cheerfully crackling fire perched on top of the wardrobe. Hedwig! Harry gasped. The snowy owl clicked her beak and fluttered down onto Harry's arms. Very smart owl you've got there, chuckled Tom. Arrived about 5 minutes after you did. If there's anything you need, Mr. Potter, don't hesitate to ask. He gave another bow and left. Harry sat on his bed for a long time, absent-mindedly stroking Hedwig. The sky outside the window was changing rapidly from deep, fatly blue to cold, steely gray, and then slowly to pink, shot with gold. Harry could hardly believe that he had only left prep drive a few hours ago, that he wasn't expelled, and that he was now facing 3 completely Dursley-free weeks. It's been a very weird night, Hedwig, he yawned, and without even removing his glass, he slumped back onto his pillow and fell asleep.